Have you always wanted to learn to cook the best barbecue ribs in the world? Well, today I'm going to share some of the best secrets known to the pros in Memphis. I'm Chuck Averwater, president and founder of Smackers Barbecue. I've judged over 200 barbecue contests and won over 34 national awards for our seasonings and sauces. We're going to be cooking on an all-drawer smoker, one that I invented myself, and if you'll see, the back of the drawer seals off everything so you don't lose your heat, moisture, or smoke when you open it to cook. Same with all of the drawers. They're all built the same way. You don't have to have a drawer cooker to start out learning to cook barbecue. Just get the best one that you can afford. It can have a dome, a lid, or a door, or anything, but just cook what you've got and then learn how to use it. This smoker has an angled water pan with splash baffles between it and holds about 5 gallons of water. So we're just going to finish topping this off. Like I said, put about 5 gallons in it. That should do it about right there. And then we'll close it up and we'll be ready to add our charcoal next. You always want to add the water first before the charcoal so you don't spill water on top of your charcoal. This smoker has a partitioned fire basket where it burns in a serpentine trail. Now we're going to start out with 2 kinds of wood. We're going to use this beautiful cherry. I love that flavor in there. Plus it makes your meat take on a very nice red color. And so we're going to set these apart just a little bit. And we're going to put about 4 of those in. And then next we're going to add some chunks of hickory wood to go with it too. Now it doesn't really make any difference where you get your wood, but I particularly like to have mine without bark on it. This way you don't have to worry about getting a bitter flavor in the meat. So we'll put a few pieces of hickory, like so. And now that's going to give us 2 different kinds of smoke flavor in here. My personal preference is to use a gel pack to light it with, because that way you don't get the fuel flavor that you get using charcoal lighter fluid. So let's go with this. Or if you've got a chimney that you want to start your charcoal in, that's perfectly okay, or an electric element. Any way that you can do it without using an actual fuel is good. So we're going to put this back in here, and then we'll start this fire in just a second. We want to get this about 3 layers deep in this type of firebox, and that works a lot on other grills as well. We're going to light our little gel packs up, and then they'll take care of the charcoal for us. Those things look like they're going pretty good right now. Like I said, that doesn't leave any kind of fuel flavor in it. That's a good thing. So we're going to just close this up a little bit. And we're going to open up all the vents and let this fire get going. The heat is controlled by a damper on each side, which helps the air flow through into the smoker. And the exhaust is on the top, which is also controllable, where you can open or close it. And after the fire gets lit, we're going to leave it at about like this when we reach our desired temperature, somewhere between 225 and 250 degrees. But for now, let's leave it open so this fire can get going. Let's start out with a nice slab of baby back ribs, or more commonly known as loin back ribs. These have already been cut down to size. They come from our meat market that way. And the membranes have already been pulled off of the back of them. Some people like to cook with them on, some off. But a neat little technique, if it has membrane, is use a kitchen spoon and apply the spoon right up underneath that membrane skin until you get it up, and then you'll be taking your thumb and raising it up here, and you can snap the whole thing off. I know a lot of people that like to use paper towels. It's unnecessary, and this technique only takes about 10 seconds. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with another nice sharp knife, and because we want our ribs to come out and cook very even, we're going to cut off a section of these. And this is simply done just by doing this, and we're going to cut close to the bone on this end, so we have meat on this end and then the bone. And we're going to set that off to the side because we're going to cook it as well. And we're going to do the same thing on this end. So we're going to shorten these out. Now you can leave the whole slab attached if you want to, if you're not cooking competition, you're just cooking for your friends. But I'm going to show you how the barbecue pros do this and how much prettier and neater that looks there. Beautiful slab of ribs. We're going to take a little bit of the fat off and even that up this way. I know guys that like to cut it this way and they can cut and trim, but for me, starting with a good sharp knife, I'll cut here and see how you can get most of it off at one time. And you don't have to worry. Now a little bit of fat's okay because everybody knows that flavor comes from the fat. How's that look? We're just going to do this again so you can have a little closer view of this. And you can see that we have a little bit of cleaning up to do here. We're going to remove the knuckle end just by doing this. Like I said, we'll set that off to the side because we love to eat these. That's a lot of thick, good meat right there. And then on the thinner end, you can see all of this fat. It'll need to come off. And we're going to take this one off about right here. About like so. Then we're going to take the spoon again and we're going to clean up some of the fat off of that. This will allow a lot better smoke penetration to get down into the meat. That's what we want. We want a nice smoke flavor, not too much, not too little. We want it all to be balanced. Okay, that's a little cleaner. While we're at it, we're going to shave this little corner off right here. And this is all for appearance in a barbecue contest. A lot of this stuff you don't have to do, but like this little piece of sinew here, you want to get that off because that can leave these strands and little strings in it. And we've got a lot of that out of there. And then we're going to come back and we're going to trim a little bit more of the fat off of this one. And that comes off there nice and neat. Okay. Now, we've got another nice and even cut slab of ribs. They're a little bit thinner on this end and wider on this end, but that's okay. They're cleaned up. These are ready to go onto the grill, and these are going to make some really, really good tasting ribs here. Or you can have your butcher do all of this for you. Yeah, you'll have to pay a little bit more for it, but it's not necessary if you're just cooking at home. But if you are doing competition, you do want these about the same width from one end to the other. So again, we're just going to go ahead and shave this off. Got a little bit of work to do, but not very much. And the membranes have already been pulled off of the back of this. These look pretty good. I'm not even going to scrape these. These are another beautiful slab of ribs. And we'll cook all of these together at the same time. Let's go ahead and get these ribs put on. Now, one good thing about a drawer smoker is we don't have to get hit in the face with a lot of smoke while we cook these. These are going to be delicious here. And notice we're putting these on with no seasoning on to begin with, no dry rub. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want any sugars in the dry rub to caramelize and seal off the outer layer of the meat. And that way it just becomes topical. So we're going to get these and just smoke them first, and then we'll be adding all of our flavors later. All right, notice how the charcoal has started to burn in its serpentine trail. Now this is going to give us a controlled burn, and right now the cherry wood is underneath this, and the reason why we put the wood underneath the charcoal is to prevent the wood from flaring up and having temperature spikes, plus the wood will last longer and give you a much better smoke flavor. We're going to close it back up and just let it start cooking. Our temperature's at about 210 degrees right now, and we're going to take it up to between 225 and 250. We're just going to take a 2-pound bag of our Smacker seasoning and pour it into a shaker here. Trying not to get it all on the countertop. There we go. This is what we're going to put to the ribs. We're going to add it on after they've been smoking for a couple of hours. And our smoker, usually these baby back ribs that we're cooking are about 2 1/4 and down size. And however, our butcher made them a little bit smaller than that. They're probably equivalent to 1.75. But we're going to go ahead and make this up so we're ready to shake on our rub after the ribs are smoked. We want the smoke to penetrate the meat first without the rub caramelizing and blocking out all of the flavor. Now we're going to prepare our spray. We're going to just take some apple juice and we're going to pour it into a spray bottle. And this is what we're going to use to spray onto the ribs, and before we add the rub to it, because we're going to be sprinkling that on. And so we want to use about 75% apple juice. And I know a lot of people that make some really tasty barbecue using an apple juice spray, but for me, I like to take it up another step. I use grenadine. You can use any brand you want. Grenadine is a concentrated pomegranate juice, actually, that's been sweetened. And we're going to use 25% of that, and it's going to really give it a nice cherry apple flavor with the apple juice and the grenadine. So that should be about enough to get that done. These ribs have been on for about 1 hour and 5 minutes now. We're holding at about 230 degrees. And they won't have to smoke but a couple of, maybe 2 to 3 hours, because we've got a really good fire and we're not going to keep it open. We're not going to check them for a while. We just want to make sure that they're getting completely smoked and cooked all the way through. All right, we're at the 2 hour and 20 minute mark. Our temperature is right at 250 degrees. Let's take a look in here and see what we have. Now look at that. Look how they're starting to curl up. The bones are starting to pull back a little bit. Like I said, that's only 2 hours and 20 minutes. These bones are looking fine. Okay, these ribs have been in for about 3 hours now. We've adjusted our temperature to about 240 degrees. Let's take a look. Yes, sir, that's what we're talking now. When the bones start to pull back, like this right here, you see that? It's almost the length of your little fingernail. That's a good sign that the ribs are ready. You don't necessarily have to go by how long and what temperature. Go by visual rules, just like this right here. Look at these bones and these right here. That's a good pullback on these. And if I were to guess, I would think that some of these might be where they start to break a little bit. And although these are a little bit hot, you see how this is breaking right here? That's a good thing. That's what we want. We don't want these ribs, whoo, they're hot. We don't want these ribs falling off the bone. That's pretty old school. Anybody can do that. But look at this beautiful pink meat. And like I said, that is very hot. This is how they should look. Now, that's what I'm talking about. All of these have pulled all the way back, and you can see how we snapped that one a few minutes ago and how that's coming apart. Still pretty hot. Need to cook a little bit longer, and these things are going to be just right. Man, look at these. Let's go ahead and pull these out of here. And let's take them over here to the table. And we're going to do my favorite little technique that really makes these ribs so good. And it's called the spray, sprinkle, spray technique. Okay, we're going to rotate these ribs. I'll flip them over like this. And this technique, again, is called the spray, sprinkle, spray. And this has the apple juice with the grenadine in it that we made up a little while ago. And we're just going to put a little bit of this Smacker's rub on the bottom too, and then we're going to respray that. It's amazing the difference that makes when you get ready to eat these. Now I like to eat mine upside down because there's a lot more meat and flavor on top of the ribs, but we're still going to have some on that too. Okay. Okay, now that we have done the spray, sprinkle, spray on the bottoms, and you can see this, how it's sticking, it's going to create a bark on there too. We're going to flip them back over just so we can do the tops. And that's starting to caramelize because the ribs are still actually pretty warm. So we'll go ahead and we'll spray. Just trying to keep this off of my cameraman. And we want to get it pretty wet. Now what'll happen is, since the fat has rendered from the pores of the meat, now we're adding the combination of our apple juice and grenadine. Like I said earlier, you can use just apple juice if you like, or apple cider, whichever you prefer. And then notice how we roll the shaker so that the spices blend and balance all the flavors evenly that are in the jar, in our shaker jar here. And this is what a lot of people would refer to as a dry rib. Although, what we're going to do is we're going to help these spices break down a little bit quicker and help them bond. And it's going to really make these seasonings pull down into the open pores of the meat. And it's going to help that bark set up. It's going to put a little bit of shine on them, make them really pretty to look at too. It's kind of a cosmetic thing, this part right here. But this is all part of layering all your flavors. Add a little bit more spray to them. This is the second layer for the spray, sprinkle, spray. Kind of moisten them up some more. Now, as these sugars melt, that'll help seal all of the smoke flavor and everything else down in the meat, and also helps with the tenderness too. See how shiny that is? That's going to really help boost the flavor a whole lot. Let's put them back in, let them set up for a few minutes. And that's just going to help them caramelize a little bit more. We'll check on y'all here in a few more minutes. Okay, you can look at these ribs. The bark has set up really good after the spray, sprinkle, spray. We're going to do a little bit more cosmetic work and a little bit more flavor layering here. I'm going to paint on our finished glaze slash sauce called Smack Me Mild, as you see right here. So the main things that we've used here today are the Smackers seasoning, which is an all-purpose seasoning, and won first in the country for best all-purpose rub and seasoning. And then the Smack Me Mild sauce has won numerous first place awards. And if you like it hotter, then we have the Smack Me Hard hot sauce here, which is, by the way, is great on chicken wings too. So we'll commence back with our painting here and finishing up the cosmetic work. All right, we're just about finished with doing this really pretty cosmetic work here by adding this glaze again slash sauce on top. Really changed the way they look. They just shine like a new penny. Plus it adds that extra layer of flavor to them. We're going to put them back in the smoker for just a few minutes and let this set up. These babies are really looking good. Go back in for a few minutes and let that set up. Wow. Now this is how you do Memphis style championship barbecue ribs. Notice they don't fall off the bone. They'll hold together. Watch how easy they break apart. Just a little bit of pull and some beautiful meat in here. Something that just really makes you want to eat these right now. For more information on how to cook barbecue ribs like this, check out our website at smackersbbq.com. Thanks for watching.